Father Peter here. Many of you have reached out to me and said that you enjoyed the videos from the Holy Land, but that we never showed the videos of what happened at the end. So here it is. Here's something of a recap the last few days. We got up early and headed to the Garden of Gethsemane for a time of prayer and devotion. The Garden of Gethsemane, of course, is the place where Jesus spent the night before he died in prayer. Remember, after the Last Supper, he went to the Garden of Gethsemane, and there the disciples fell asleep while he stayed up and prayed. A beautiful church adorns this space, and it lays out the scene. And before the altar, there is a huge rock where it is said that Jesus spent his night in prayer there. And pilgrims from out the world come and lay their foreheads on that rock as a place of devotion. It has been a most moving place for me in my life. After we spent the morning there, we headed up to the top of the Mount of Olives to the town of Bethpage, and there we really did two things. The first thing we did was go to a church, which is also a mosque, the place of the ascension of Jesus, and there it is said that there is a footprint in the rock where Jesus stood before he ascended to the heavens. And then we went to a church that celebrates and venerates where Jesus got on the donkey and rode down what is now known as the Palm Sunday Walk. This is a walk where thousands and thousands and thousands of pilgrims pour down on Palm Sunday. And halfway down the Mount of Olives, we of course visited Dominus Flavit, a church that means the Lord wept. It's where he leapt over Jerusalem. And then down to the bottom of the Mount of Olives, we boarded a bus and headed over, if you're facing the city of Jerusalem, on the left. And we went to Caiaphas's palace. It's a church today that is known as St. Peter in Gallico. Gallico means crowing rooster. And it's an incredible place because the sculptures there show Peter denying Jesus 3 times before the rooster crows. And it also, in a most moving way and place, shows the pit where Jesus spent the night before he died. It's a most solemn and sacred and sobering place to be. After our visit to St. Peter in Gallico, we boarded a bus and headed down from Jerusalem, down to the Jordan Valley, to Jericho, where we had lunch at the Kumris. Iyad Kumri and his family run the tour business that we use there. There we exchanged gifts with our prayer partners, and we all overate. And then after overeating, we headed down along the Jordan River desert there toward the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea is the lowest place in the world, and we, of course, had Skip Hobbs, who is our geologist extraordinaire along the trip, to explain what was happening to us at the Dead Sea and all the minerals. And there we swam to the degree that one swims. We floated in the Dead Sea, and here's a great picture that Randy Corbett took. Saturday morning, we woke up very, very early, and we went on the Via Dolorosa, the Way of Sorrows, to do the Stations of the Cross. We woke before Jerusalem was awake. We woke way before the sun was awake and walked through those empty streets and prayed those stations. It's a very, very, very moving thing as we carry our cross. And then, of course, the Stations of the Cross ends at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, to the place of Golgotha where Jesus was crucified, and then down to the empty tomb where he is laid to rest. It's a long morning, but then we joined together for breakfast. And after breakfast, we headed down from Jerusalem and across the Jordan River, across the Allenby Bridge, into the state of Jordan, the Hashemite Empire. And there we rose up Mount Nebo, the Jordan Desert, which is the brownest of browns and so barren, to the top of Mount Nebo, where Moses looked over the Holy Land but was forbidden by God to enter. And then from Mount Nebo, we went to Amman, and from Amman had a bit of a free afternoon. And then that night, an incredible celebration of Amy Reed's birthday, a real highlight for all of us. And then it was up early on Sunday morning, and we headed toward Petra. Petra's about 3 hours from Amman. We had Holy Communion on the bus as we rolled through the Jordanian desert out to Petra. And Petra is one of the 7 wonders of the world, and it is a wonder of the world. I've been there many times, but it almost defies description. One can see the pictures, but how great it is to walk into that place and to see how wondrous it all is. We went down into the valley and then climbed our way out, though some bipped and popped up on the backs of donkeys, and it was really just part of the fun of it all. Then had a wonderful dinner in Petra that night, and then early the next morning we rose at 4:30 and headed toward the Allenby Bridge to cross back into the state of Israel. It was the festival of the booths that day, Sukkot, and we needed to get across the bridge before they closed it. Rose back up and went back to St. George's and cleaned ourselves up, and went to the Israel Museum and saw a most beautiful outdoor sculpture of what the city of Jerusalem was like during the time of Jesus. Came back and had a celebratory dinner, headed back down the mountain to Ben Gurion Airport, and then at 12:10 that next morning, all boarded the plane and flew from the old Canaan to the new Canaan, landing at JFK in, again, pre-dawn darkness, and worked our way all the way home. You see here in these final pictures, the picture of the beginning of the trip, and a picture of us in the Jordan River, and then finally all seated together that morning after the Stations of the Cross out next to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. It is a Holy Land pilgrimage. It is walking in the footsteps of Jesus, and it is an extraordinary thing because it does lead you to a deeper life of Christ in a more holy communion with your fellow pilgrims. It brings you more in touch with the Jesus of the Bible, and it brings you more in touch with the living Christ in your lives. It's a beautiful and holy thing. I'm really grateful to Rob, who put these videos together. I'm grateful to my son Ben, who took the footage, and I'm grateful to you that has watched it and listened to it. And if you've not been, the next time we at St. Mark's go, I hope you'll send a check in to Beth Ralston and say, sign me up, because I too want to walk in the footsteps of Jesus. God bless you. Take care. Bye-bye.